Hey beauties, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Winnie. In my previous video I made the pattern drafting of this cupped corset asymmetric blouse. This is how it looked on my client. It was so beautiful and I really loved it. She also loved it as well. So this tutorial is going to be the sewing part. If this is what you like to learn, definitely keep on watching, like my videos, share with your family and friends, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out anytime I post a new video. Without too much talking, let's get to the honey of the video. Let's go. I love you. Hey beauty, welcome to my channel. As I have shown in my previous video, I went ahead to cut out the pattern, the front and the back, and I added allowances to every other part aside the side. Don't forget that we already added 2 inches allowance at the side, so I only added allowance at the top part and at the middle part, the parts that I'm going to be joining with the other sides. I hope you understand what I'm saying. And this is the yoke. I'm going to be cutting it later, so let me just quickly show you how to cut the yoke. For the back, you're just going to fold it like this and you are going to pin it, place your yoke on it, pin it, and then you cut it out. So on the sides, on the down part, I did not add any allowance. On the sides I added allowance, and on the upper part also. But for the front yoke, you're just going to place it at the part where the lace is all right. So that is where the neck is going to be for the front. So this is the back. I've cut out 4 pieces, that is 2 pieces for each side, and I'm going to be placing it on top of each other, and I'm going to be using it to turn each other so that everything can be neat and clean. So make sure to double your yoke like this so it can be neat. So I've done that and I've ironed it out. So once we are done with that, let's move straight to the front. So this is the front piece, that's the middle, and those are the 2 sides. So I'm just going to flip it over, place it right side facing right side, and then I'm going to sew it with 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm also going to do that to the lining. So I've gone ahead to do that now, and I've ironed it open. I've also done the same to the lining. Also, what I did to the main fabric, I've done to the lining. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to create bone channels on the lining part. The boning is going to be on the lining, so I've cut out strips. This is about 1.5 inches in width. So I'm just going to be using it to create bone channels. I'm going to sew it like so, then flip it over, then sew it neatly. So you can create more bone channels if you want, but this 3 is okay for me as requested by the client. The client does not want too many bones on our dress. All right, so I'm just trying to show you how it's going to be. So you are just going to, sew it on one end. So now for the center bone, what you're going to do is to mark out the midpoint of that point and just draw out a straight line. All right, so that your boning can be straight, your bone channel can be straight. Then you sew it on one side, flip it over, and sew it neatly on the other side. I'm going to be making use of a 1/2 inch plastic bone. That is what I'm going to be using for the sake of this tutorial. So now I've gone ahead to sew it neatly. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is to work on the front piece. So for the front piece, if you checked the thumbnail very well, there's a detail at the front, a pleated detail at the front. I'm going to have to sew that separately, and I'm going to be placing that at the middle and on the 2 sides, just as it is on the lining. Do that on the main fabric, but this time it's going to be on the right side. So this is it is neatly sewn. So once we are done, I'm going to be placing my cups. I've gone ahead to wrap this ready-made cup. I have a tutorial on it, and I'm going to be dropping the link in the description box down below. So I'm going to be sewing this cup to my space. I'm going to start from that center point and stitch it to the side. I'm going to do that on both sides, and then for the lining, I'm going to sew the lining part of the cup, all right, on the lining part also separately like that. So we're going to be joining it separately. So before I sew in my cup, I added a lace to it. So I just want to quickly show you how I did that. I just cut out a piece of the lace, and then I placed my cup on it. I dragged it, making sure that there is no rough part, and then I pinned it, and then I am going to cut that out. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go ahead and stitch it all around, you know, from where I stitched earlier. I'm just going to stitch it to secure it, and then I am going to cut off the excess. So there is no serious thing about it. That's just how I placed my, you know, my net on it. Any fabric that you are placing on your cup, that's just how you're going to do it. So I've gone ahead to sew in my cup, and I've sewn in my lining also, and then I went ahead to add original bone at the down part of the lining, just to create a kind of, you know, caging effect. I didn't want it to be too much. So now this is my yoke for the front. As you can see, the lace part is at the neck side. All right, so you're just going to place it on top of it like so. That is the beauty of pattern drafting. You see how the yoke just sits. When you use pattern drafting to cut your dress, every part that needs to sit will just sit at the right place, so it will not be confusing when you are stitching it together. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to pin it down right now, and then I am going to go ahead and take it to my sewing machine and stitch it. So I just want to explain that after pinning it down and stitching it, I'm going to show you how it's going to look now. So once you pin it properly and you sew it, is meant to look something like this. All right, so once you are done, then you then place your lining on top of it. So you flip it over like this. You can stitch it together with the lining, or you can stitch it separately. So you just place your lining on top of it like this, sewing everything all around, and you're going to leave a little bit of space that you're going to turn it to the right side. All right, because you're going to be sewing everything all around. If you've gotten to this point in this video and you love what I'm doing, kindly give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. So what we are going to be doing now is that we are going to be attaching our boning. So I'm going ahead to measure out the length of what I want, and you are going to cut your boning by ½ inch shorter by the original length that you measured. All right, so once that is done, you take your paper tape and use it to secure the edges of your bone before inserting it to your dress. So don't forget, the bone has to be ½ inch shorter than the original length. So I'm just going to quickly add the bones to the other two sides also. As you can see, I've secured the edges with paper tape, and then it is ½ inch shorter than the original length, and this is how it looks. I am just going to give it a good press and attach it to the front part as the lining. So I'm gonna have to stitch the main fabric and the lining together, and that was the part that I left open to turn it inside out. So what I'm doing now is to turn it inside out. All right, you have to take your time. It can be really tricky, but you need to take your time to really do it very well. And you can use your scissors to poke out all the edges, all the pointed edges that your hand cannot, you know, do. Then you go ahead and smoothen everything up with your hand first. Your cup, your lining, everything has to be sitting nice and clean. And then that point that you opened earlier, you're just going to stitch it down. All right, and then you use your iron to give it a good press. So this is the back. I've already done that. I have a separate video on how to create this back pattern with modesty panel. I will also drop that in the description box down below. So this is the front. See how neat and clean everything is looking. You can use your invisible thread to just, you know, sew that cup side inside so that it can sit properly and the bust can sit inside it very well. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to place the front and back on top of each other, right side facing right side, and you're going to go ahead and sew the shoulder. You know, you place the yoke on top of it like so, and then you sew the shoulder with ½ inch seam allowance. After that, you are going to sew the sides with whatever allowance that is left. Just go ahead and sew the sides. There's another way that you can stitch everything and the stitch at the side will not be showing, but I want this to be as easy and beginner friendly as possible. So after sewing the side, this was the finished look. It looked really beautiful. There's another tutorial on how to create this thumb out sleeve. is up on my channel also. I'm going to drop all those links in the description box. You can decide to check them later when you are less busy. So this was how beautiful it looked on my client. I am happy that this tutorial will have been so helpful to you. If it was, give it a like. Till I see you in the next one. I love you and I care. Bye. Papa.